I don't know about you, but I only trust the best. So if you're looking at getting your roof checked out, redone, these are the guys that can help you. Belter Roofing and Construction, they are the best. They'll come out, do a free inspection. You can trust them with your roof. Call them, Belter Roofing and Construction. 405-952-7777. That's Belter Roofing and Construction.
This is the Jake for the State podcast, and this is the call for every red-blooded, God-fearing, liberty-loving patriot to prepare yourself, take your position, stand your ground, and advance the cause of freedom. Let's go.
Hey guys, welcome to the Jake for the State podcast, and it's election season. Interviewing a lot of candidates from the Senate to the House, sheriff, county commissioner, all across the board. And my candidate today is Jonathan Wingard, get the name right here, running for Senate District 13. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you for having me on here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you are currently at work, and it's always good to get to know the candidate and get to know what your daily life looks like, what you've been doing the last few years, and then what drove you to the insane decision of running for running for office. But where are you currently? What do you do for a living?
So I am a partner in a custom meat processing plant here in Ada, Oklahoma. So
okay.
I'm a butcher by trade.
I got so many more questions about that, of course, connected to the meat market in general. And I'm all about local, partnering with local farmers and ranchers and using you guys to get good quality beef. So, yeah, we're gonna circle back to that. Let's get to some of your history.
Okay.
You are a veteran of the National Guard, right?
Yes, I am. I have spent almost 20 years in the National Guard. I spent 10 years of that working full-time for them. And I've had 2 deployments. I've been to Afghanistan in 2013 and Kuwait in 2016, 2017.
Okay, wow. Well, thank you for your service. Appreciate that.
I appreciate the support.
So your time in the service, your oath to the Constitution, I just actually had an interview with another veteran this morning who's running for a different office. And he said, I felt like I could, in running for office, do more to my vow to the Constitution through this other avenue. Just curious how you feel about that, about your time in the service, your vow to the Constitution, and how that applies to your run for Senate District 13.
Well, for me, it's about that public service. I served this state and I served this country for 2 decades. State active duty missions, overseas, just being part of the community. Did take a kid fishing days here. We've done car shows. We've done state active duties during disasters, things like that. It's just part of who I am. And for me, the next logical step would be to get up in the legislature and be able to try to continue to serve the state and serve the constituents of this district in that manner.
Now, every race is important, obviously. This one has particular weight because of the incumbent you're running against. So you're running against Greg McCourtney. I actually served with McCourtney during my time in the Senate. And it's particularly important because he was recently elected by the Senate body to be the pro tem elect. So it has to be confirmed in November. But if confirmed, he would be the new head of the Senate. So kind of a big deal, which makes this kind of a big race. And there were others that had toyed with the idea of running. They ended up backing out. So now it leaves you running against McCourtney. And this could upset the plans of the Senate to have him step in as head of the Senate. And I know many would celebrate that. So I'm curious your thoughts on that. Did that impact your decision to run? And does that impact the way you campaign, considering the incumbent you're running against?
It didn't initially impact my decision to run because I firmly believe in small government. I believe in working for the people, and I believe in being a servant leader. So my decision to run was initially based on that. And then the more involved you get in this and the more that you learn about the situation, about Mr. McCourtney's voting record, the way Mr. McCourtney has run things while he's been in office, it makes you realize the importance of this election and how it's going to affect everybody across the state, not just my district. And like you said, there are a lot of people that do not want to see him in that position of leadership. So we have a lot of people supporting us inside and outside the district because everybody in the state understands how important that position is.
Right.
So it, it's about protecting the people of the state. It's about protecting my district and making sure that they have the best leadership they can have. And I personally feel like I could do a better job than he has based on his voting record.
What are you seeing on his voting record, and what are you hearing from the people as far as what they're not happy about?
So he has not been strong on the Second Amendment. There is currently a bill in the Senate, uh, Senate Bill 1218, that would allow basically 18 to 20-year-old adults to purchase a handgun because they're currently not allowed to. So if if you can go defend the country and put your life on the line, but you can't defend yourself at home, that's an issue for me. He's also voted to allow illegal immigrants to have a driver's license in the state of Oklahoma. That, in my mind and in the mind of many other people, that is a risk to the state because that is essentially telling illegal immigrants, hey, come here, we're going to give you benefits and we're going to give you things that would make it easier for you.
Yeah, two big issues for sure that a lot of people are concerned about, and really watching the Senate to see how they vote on this. When did you join the National Guard? How old were you?
I, j- I was 20 years old. I was
20.
almost
Okay.
21. I joined in January of 2003.
Okay. So, you joined the National Guard before you could legally own a firearm yourself, huh? And
Yes.
I'm just thinking about the argument you made, and that I agree with, is that if you're turned 18 and you're able to go serve and be assigned a firearm to go use to defend the country, you should be able to own one privately.
Yes.
I think about the original colonies, and when we actually had a real militia before I believe the Second Amendment was really watered down. And you had 16-year-olds that were actually mandated in most states to own a firearm, to have it fully equipped and ready to go so that they could serve in the militia. And here we are debating about if an 18-year-old could legally own one. And, this obviously is a Second Amendment issue that I see is important to you as the first one you brought up. What are the top priorities for you when you look at the state of Oklahoma and what you would like to address if you were to be elected?
So the Second Amendment is one of them. Like I said, Senate Bill 1218, I feel like that's a very important bill. It also extends the castle doctrine outside of the walls of your home and allows you to protect your property and your business. Uh, I have an agriculture background as well. I I grew up on a dairy farm. My grandfather had a dairy farm, and I grew up on that. And it's something that I've always wanted to do is farm and agriculture and things like that. And then obviously with my business being connected to that community. And what I'm seeing is people are being priced out of being able to actually buy farmland and productively farm it and be able to afford it. Uh, a lot of what I feel like has happened over the last several years has been outside entities has come in, they're buying land and they're raising the prices. And I have issue with that because you're pricing out the local people, the local families, the local farms. And so many people don't understand how important agriculture is, not only to the state, but to the nation, because that's what feeds us. And the type of, what we do here, the type of beef that we cut and we produce, it's a higher quality and it's local. So people know what they're getting. People know what they're eating. They know what went in it, so they know what they're getting. And it produces a better quality product because you don't know where, when you go to the grocery store, you don't know where that beef was raised. It might not even been in the United States. So I have a real big connection to the rural community, and I would like to maintain that. I also have a connection to the Veterans Administration, or to the veterans, being a veteran myself and understanding what we go through. So that's something that I would like to be involved in as well.
Do you feel like you could represent rural Oklahoma better than McCourtney does?
Yes, I do, because I feel like I have more of a connection to the rural community. I grew
Right.
up around agriculture, been part of agriculture. I have some cattle myself, and I own a business that is connected to the local farmers and ranchers.
Thinking about this idea, and I'm not going to spend the whole time talking about McCourtney. I emphasize the importance of this race that you said that you became more and more aware of the more you got into it, and very significant that he is the pro tem elect. And if you were to come in, that would disrupt those plans of leadership in the Senate. And I know he's got a lot of weight and a lot of money behind him. Do you have a consultant? You're new to the realm of politics. When you jumped in, I mean, did you hire a consultant to help you with this process? What does your campaign race look like?
So I haven't hired a consultant, but I have a lot of people that are helping me, advising me, and supporting me. So while I don't have like a direct manager, if you will, I do have groups of people that are part of this and helping with this. Some of them are from the state of Oklahoma, some of them are not. Um, but we're trying to run this race as more of a grassroots, get out, door knock, talk to people, introduce myself, and let them see the difference between who I am and who Mr. McCourtney is, and let the voters decide who do they want to actually lead them and to be their leadership in the Senate.
Yeah. Have you seen any smear mailers yet? I know that it's pretty typical. And so have you seen your face on a mailer with some negative comments?
I have not yet.
Okay. Well, that's good and surprising and good. I always love to see a clean race where a candidate can simply run on what they have to offer instead of demonizing and belittling the other. Of course, when you have a sitting senator, it's easy to look at his record and simply base a vote on his voting record and his ability to represent and his availability to the people. All of that's pretty easy then to assess their job and how well they're doing representing their district. So, considering you being a veteran, raised on a dairy farm, serving the community through the meat processing plant that you're a part of, I wonder sometimes how people can dig up dirt. It is surprising. I know personally, they found an old Facebook account of mine where I had not selected my preference, men or women, so they concluded that I must be bisexual. And so I was a bisexual domestic terrorist is how they framed me. It's just
Right.
amazing what the things they will come up with. But are there any things that you're concerned about that may come out in this whole process, stepping into the public domain?
I think my biggest concern is he is going to try to say I'm inexperienced,
Yeah.
and that could be a downfall for me, right? And I think that that's something that he could go after if there is anything. Now I'm not saying I'm perfect. Nobody's perfect, right? We're human beings. We make mistakes, and we all have. But I generally try to lead a good life, and do the right thing. I'm not gonna say I never got a speeding ticket, but it's been a long time. I've never done anything like that. Um, but when it comes down to things like experience, until you do something, you don't actually have experience at it, right? He
Yeah.
Until he became a senator, he was not a senator before. So, that experience is something that comes with time. And it's something that I hope and feel like the voters shouldn't look at as a bad thing, because I'm coming in new and I'm coming in not owing anybody anything either.
It's big. It's big. You know, I think that one thing people are tired of is professional politicians. And there's lots of talk around term limits so that people can't just lock in lifetime appointments or positions. And here, of course, in Oklahoma, we have a 12-year limit. And so they couldn't have a
Right.
lifetime position. But we're not saying that somebody has to or gets to serve that full 12 years. That they have a testing period every time a new election season comes around. It's a time for the voters to reassess. And just because you've been in before, I agree with you, doesn't mean you need to stay in. And I believe the best
Yes.
experience a person can have is an experience being a person and being connected with the community and willing to stand up and represent the people you come from. And so, I'm in favor of big turnover in a lot of different areas. So I'm with you on that. I think that experience doesn't mean everything, but I think it's important to say what kind of experience. Sometimes the system, experience in the system, is actually a negative. Sometimes we need to have
Right.
people come in from outside the system to offer something new and fresh, and return back to the reason that that this republic exists in the first place is to represent the people. You talked about you live a good, moral, simple life. A big thing right now that's being addressed in both the House and the Senate up at the Capitol is the issue of separation of church and state. Talking about public education. Should we fund a religious charter school? Should we post the 10 Commandments on the wall? Should we have chaplains in public schools? Lots of things swirling around this issue of God and the connection to the public domain. What's your take on that?
Of course, I believe in God. I'm a Christian, first and foremost. But when I do this, I also look at I have to represent everybody, right? I have no issue with the Ten Commandments. I have no issue with the Ten Commandments being posted places. But at the same time, if you're going to allow that and do that, then you have to respect other people's opinions of if they have different beliefs as well. And as an elected representative, I have to recognize that I represent those people too. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody gets their way, right? But you just, when you approach things like that, you just need to be respectful of all beliefs and all religions. And, because we all have different backgrounds, all different walks of life. But I do believe in God, and I do believe in using the morals of God in my decision making and how I approach things. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I stand on that. I'm not against it, but I want people to understand that I'm going to also represent people that may not be Christian or may have a religious background other than Christianity.
Yeah, no thanks. Kind of staying in that same vein with regard to public education, that's also constantly an issue, talking about funding of public education. Of course, that's connected to property tax and our tax issue as well. But when we look at public education right now, the academic outcomes, the stuff that Ryan Walters is saying, which I agree with personally, of him addressing woke ideologies in public school, these kinds of things. Is there an area in the realm of public education that concerns you or interests you that you would like to address if you were to be elected?
One of the things that concerns me is the lack of results. I feel like there's too many kids that are just getting pushed ahead just because we need to get back to basic education feel like the education system should be for educating children on the things that they need to be productive citizens in society. And it seems like we've kind of gotten away from that. Oklahoma's not as bad as some other states, but I've seen some of the math that my daughter did when she was in junior high. I was good at math in school, and I couldn't understand it at all, and it made absolutely no sense. And it's like when you look at that, like there's no benefit in society to what they're teaching these kids. So if we're going to spend money to teach kids something that doesn't actually benefit them when they join society, then what are we really spending our money on?
Yeah. Lots of concern about what we're teaching, how we're teaching, and parent choice, is big. And, obviously last couple of years, that has been a big emphasis and push is parental choice, being able to decide where you put your school, where you put your kid. Where do you stand on that?
The parent should have the ultimate choice. The parent or guardian, whoever is raising that child, they're the ones responsible for. They're responsible for that life. They're responsible for molding and shaping them into the people they're going to become when, yes, they grow up and become adults. The parents need to have the choice. They need to have the right to decide what type of education their children receive. Because ultimately, the parents are the ones that are responsible for that child anyways. So if you take away their right to make decisions like that, then what are you doing with parents? It's like that's their job to determine what's best for their child and for their family, and it needs to stay that way.
Right. How many kids do you have?
2.
2 kids. Okay. How old are they?
Yes. So I really thought this out, and I have one that's 19, and I have one that's 2.
Right. Yeah, spread them out a little bit. Let the fun keep on coming, huh?
Exactly.
No, that's great. That's great. Well, we got a little bit of background noise there in the shop, and that's okay because I know you're a working man. You're up there processing meat at the plant. Are you able to show us around and see what's happening up there? Tell us what's happening up at the plant.
Yeah. I can take you and walk you around. It'll be a little bit loud if that's all right.
That's okay. Yeah.
If I can figure out how to flip this around.
We'll do a little bit of micro dirty jobs kind of tour of the processing plant here.
Okay. So this is my facility. The guy in the hat that just wiping his hands is my business partner.
We're still waiting on the camera to flip. There it is. Okay, now we get a picture of it.
Okay. So this is my facility, right? We are, I think about 3,200 square feet.
Okay. What are y'all working on right now? Y'all processing a beef, or what are y'all doing?
Yes. So we're doing a beef right now. So that's one of our employees. And you can see here we've got stew meat. Sorry, I'm trying to do this and watch and see. And then of course we've got meat on the grinder. And then here is our bandsaw, and then we've got some nice looking T-bones here. And then we vacuum seal, and this is our packaging station. And then I'll show you, hopefully your audience doesn't get squeamish with this stuff. I know how some people feel about it, but we all have to eat. So this is the actual beef cooler. You can see the carcasses hanging in there.
Right.
And then there's the one that we're actually working on right now. Right. So we break it down in the cooler piece by piece, and we bring it out onto the table, and then we cut it into the main cuts. So, and I've actually got another cooler over here that right now I have a lot of beef in, or pigs in. So certain times of the year, we do a lot of pigs.
Yep. We just finished the stock show. My daughter showed a couple this year, and now we got them in our freezer. So it's that time of year.
Right.
Hey, tell me about the future. Tell me about the future of processing with connection to the local farmer. I know more and more people are thinking about that, concerns about big beef having a monopoly on our food, us not knowing where our food is coming from. I know I personally am encouraging people all the time to shop local, to reach out to local farmers and ranchers, and to use you guys, local processors, to get their meat processed. What are the biggest struggles in the state of Oklahoma for a meat processing plant?
Right now, it's the cost. The processed beef has skyrocketed, which helps the farmer, right? Because obviously they run on very thin margins. But it has made it very expensive to get beef processed. As when, it has gone up to $3 or $4 a pound, between $3.50 and $4 a pound hanging weight to buy the carcass, and then you have to pay my processing fee on top of it. So to get a full beef done, you could be out $3,000 or $4,000, which a lot of families right now, especially in this economy, they don't have that kind of money to buy a whole beef or half a beef.
What does that average out to? What does that average out to per pound?
Somewhere between $6 and $7 a pound for the finished product.
Okay.
And that's for everything. So that includes your hamburger, that includes your ribeyes, your T-bones, your brisket, your sirloins, your all your steaks, all your roasts. That's everything. And with that, you also get to decide exactly how you want it done. So if you want really thick steaks or really thin steaks, or if you want really greasy hamburger or a really lean hamburger, small roasts, big roasts, we do it the way you want it. That's the advantage of a custom plant is that you get exactly what you want the way you want it. And since we do everything by hand, right, either with a knife or with a saw, we don't do anything mechanical. It's a cleaner product, right? We don't get all that little bits of crap and trash in it that the big processors do. They'll use compressed air and blow all the meat off of a bone. Well, that'll also include that extra connective tissue and things like that could make your hamburger meat tough, for example.
Okay.
So you do get a cleaner, better product with us, but it does cost a little bit more. But if you went and priced everything, then you're still saving money in the long run. It's just getting people to invest that money up front.
Yeah, exactly. It's not far above what you're finding in the local grocery store. That is the catch, is you have to buy in bulk usually. But people split that up though too, right? You could buy a quarter of a beef and split that up with some neighbors.
Yes, you can.
Right.
And we do that quite often.
Now,
so
what does it look like as far as across the state? You come under the purview and the oversight of the FDA, right?
We are under the we don't fall under the FDA. We're actually state regulated, so we fall under state rules, which the state rules mirror the USDA's.
I said FDA. I meant USDA. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't fall under USDA here with what we do.
Okay.
So now they will come in and inspect a handful of inspected or custom plants every year. The USDA does, but we are still regulated by the state. I have state inspectors. It's a state license. Everything is with the state.
Okay. Now, are you happy with the regulations, the state regulations, or are there things that you would like to see changed if you were to be elected? Obviously people come in there with a particular item or set of items that you would like to see changed in the state. when I came in, DHS reform was big on my list because we had adopted out of DHS, so it was really close to home for me. And so coming in as a processor and close to farming and ranching, what are some particular areas that you would like to see changed?
So as far as the regulations we're under, I don't really have issues with it. Um, they're not real extreme, and I think they're good for the industry, making sure that that proper hygiene, we're keeping our facilities clean, that we're treating animals with the proper care that they need to be. Right, they're not being abused. We understand that we are putting them down, that we are turning them into food products, but that doesn't mean they deserve to be abused during that process, right? So, but some of the things I would like to see that they have done just recently in the past, and I'd like to see them continue to do, is some farm to table stuff. There was a program where the schools could buy local beef, so it would get processed through a local processor from a local farmer, right? So that essentially you are keeping or able to keep everything within the community. Your school would be able to buy beef from a, a, a farmer in their district, possibly, or a farmer in their county, and be able to use a processor this similar, right? Someone who is close to their district or connected to their students or something like that. So I would like to see that continue because I think that is it's a benefit. For one, you know what kind of beef that you're getting. You know that you're going to get safe beef. You know that you're going to get Oklahoma raised beef, and you're keeping your farmers employed. You're giving them an outlet to sell their product. You're keeping local processors employed, and you're providing a good service to schools and to students. So I think it's a good program all around. I also know the tribes have something. Now, I don't think this is the state level. I think it's a federal funding thing. But the tribes have a very similar program to where they're allotted so much meat per tribal member per month, and they can buy local and get processed local. And programs like that, I think, are very good programs because it connects everybody in the community together in a positive way.
Yeah. No, I love the idea of the schools being able to buy local. And I believe I actually voted for that bill when it was presented by Adam Pugh when I was in the Senate. And so love the idea. I think that health outcomes, we need to improve those across the board in our public schools and beyond. And so I think that would definitely be something that could contribute to that. Jonathan, I'll let you kind of wrap it up. And just speaking to the people, what makes you the better candidate? Why should they cast their vote for you?
So I've said from the very beginning, and I truly feel this way, I'm a nobody. I'm just a person, right? I'm just a guy. I have served my state, I've served my country, and I work here in the community locally, but I'm not politically connected. I'm not a wealthy person. I'm just a normal person who has chosen to do this because I know it's the right thing to do. To be up there and support the people and be there for the people, that's what it's about. That's what government's about. That's what leadership is about. It's not about voting to get yourself put in political positions. It's about voting to improve the state and improve your district. At the end of the day, I'm just like everybody else. It's about making a better home for my family and a better home for the families around me. And that's my goal.
I love it, Jonathan. I appreciate your time today. I appreciate you jumping in and running. Appreciate your service to the country. You can find out more about Jonathan at jonathanwingardforsenate.com. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Jonathan Wingard for Senate.
Got that website up.
Okay. Got some great info about Jonathan and his campaign. You can find out more there. And I'll be sure to post that link in the show notes as well. So all you listening on the podcast, you can go to the show notes and find that link to find Jonathan's campaign. Jonathan, I appreciate your time. God bless and good luck on the campaign. And we will wait anxiously for the results.
Thank you for having me on, Jake. And I hope y'all have a great day. And we hope to see you out voting June 18th. Don't forget, that's the primary. And that's when the seat, at least for District 13 and possibly other districts. If you're not in my district, you need to be following along with what's going on in your district and make sure that you vote for the best candidate for the job. And I just want to add this one thing. This is what I tell people when I talk to them about it. You know, we have a voting record for Mr. McCourtney. If you don't like his voting record, then you need to consider somebody else. 4 years from now, if you don't like my voting record, vote me out. I believe that's how government should be. That's how government should work. If we are not representing you the way you need to be represented or want to be represented, vote us out.
That's the way it works.
You don't need term limits. You need to vote people out. Now, I do believe in term limits, but I firmly believe that the voters set term limits. If you don't like what we do, vote us out.
Absolutely. Jonathan, thank you for your time, and absolutely thank you for the reminder. June 18th, everyone get out and vote, exercise your right, and be the government. We the people have to be the government. This is the way we do it, is we elect our representatives. And so June 18th, mark it on your calendar. If you like Jonathan, I'm sure he would welcome any kind of volunteers down in Senate District 13 to go knock doors, hand out information. I ran a grassroots campaign too, so I appreciated the volunteers, and I appreciate you are a grassroots campaign, Jonathan. So any volunteers out there listening want to help out, I'm sure you'd welcome it. Go check out his website, Jonathan Wingard for Senate, to find out how you can give and learn more about him. All right, thanks for tuning in to the Jake for the State podcast. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. Tell people about it. And if you're a candidate, want to get on, let me know. You can email me at jakeforthestate@gmail.com, and I'll see you next time.